So, we're going to get started on our first figure drawing set. Okay, Google, set timer for 20 minutes, 30 seconds.
20 minutes and 30 seconds. Starting now.
Tonight is just going to be kind of chill. I'll go over a few things, but it's not really going to be focused on anything in particular. Other than, you know, some of the Yo-Yo Shinari, maybe we'll look at some Studio Trigger animation for inspiration. Actually, there's a Twitter animator I want to share too. We have some really kind of fun stuff. That's a very nice kick. I'm not gonna do it right now because I'm trying to warm up on some structure boxes. So this week I meant to go into extrapolation, but we didn't get to that this week. We're going to be doing it next week. That's okay. There's other stuff we focused on this week. Action, for one thing. So today's kind of a low-key vibe day. Just get some figure mileage in, look at some inspiring stuff. Tomorrow will be more of the same, but we'll be focusing probably maybe a little bit more on Studio Trigger stuff. That might be fun. Whatever's fun tomorrow. But next week, we're also going to be getting back into extrapolation. The step that I left off of the gesture drawing syllabus that I've been using for these sessions. So right now I'm kind of warming up on some bendy boxes, and I gotta open the window. It is freaking roasting hot in here. And also I forgot I was meant to change the screen display to this so you get more space to draw on. Alright, let's see. Relaxed posture. Let's get some light gesture in on this figure. Still getting warmed up in the warm-up set. I've gotten a lot of drawing in today. There was a bunch of like kind of story and idea development I was doing for that one story you guys have been seeing me mess with that little ultraviolet goblin. I did some more stuff with that today I'd be happy to share. Yeah, the Yo-Yo Shinari refs are on Amazon. Yeah, it's very easy to find those, yes. I got some PDF versions of it that were being officially given away for free in limited quantity or something for a limited time. I forget what it was for, but yeah. So I got the books basically for free, but you can't. But I can't distribute them. Some good figures on this page. Just pick one or two of them and do like a gesture study from them. You can see that kind of bony, angular way that Yo-Yo Shinari likes to handle his figures. He's doing pseudo-anatomical cartoon characters. He has a particular rhythmic way of drawing hands too that I kind of am interested in absorbing more from. There's a lot of ways he draws that seems like specific to his idiosyncrasies also. Yeah, this is still the warm-up set. If you want to study from these, like try to look for the line of action in them first, like that, for example, or like this, or whatever, the sweep of that body stuff. Just do like kind of a copy study gestural breakdown of the figure. You only got 2 minutes to do it, so just try to get like what little gestural information you can down. You'll absorb one or two tidbits from Yo-Yo Shinari's approach. If you notice, he's doing like a lot of the stuff in here embedded into these figures that I've been talking about in here, about like correlating the limbs to each other, thinking about them in terms of about like what 3D space they're occupying. Like you can see these arms right here in particular, how the hands correlate to each other, how the elbows or the joints of the arms correlate to each other. Yeah. I'm kind of worried that the text box may actually be covering up the drawing space, so I might, yeah. I think at the very least I'll move it up here. Maybe like here. That might be okay. So here's an interesting pose. So the story I'm writing in my head when looking at this pose is that this is an illusory fantasy maiden that's probably luring somebody to their death. So anyone in voice chat, what's been up? What have you guys been up to lately?
I have some news.
Oh, goody. What is it? Skip
I
that
just
mecha.
got a call and I got accepted to CCA for grad school.
Nice. What's CCA?
California College of Arts.
Oh, cool. What's your major? Or whatever.
Yeah, I'm gonna be doing the MFA in comics.
Oh, cool.
My hope is that from there I can get some more experience in storyboarding for future careers. But yeah, that's what I've been up to.
Sounds like it might be really expensive.
Yes, but I got a scholarship.
Oh, good. Is it a full ride?
It's a merit scholarship that pays for like a 2/3, but that's aside from any other financial aid. So I'm still like waiting to hear about the full package.
Okay. Yeah, I hope you get a full ride.
Thank you.
Speaking of storyboard, you know I'm taking the Andy Kong storyboard workshop that starts in April, right?
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah, it's the uninstructed version of it though, but it's still going to be really good.
Yeah, I'm really bummed that I can't take that, but I'm really excited that you're taking it.
That's why that's the name of the game. Like between now and then, like this and like the story development and character development stuff that I'm doing on my own is basically all in prep for that.
Nice. Well, that should be fun.
Nope, skipping over that. Anybody else got any good news or mediocre news or even some kind of crappy news that they want to get off their chest?
I'm making soup.
Soup.
Yep, making chicken soup. Completely unrelated to what we are doing right now, but that is in fact a thing I'm doing.
Yeah. You can make soup. Oh, I forgot to mention, I'm going to be taking off at 8 p.m. tonight, half hour early, because I got another play date with some game devs. We're going to be playing Valheim. But I got my practice in today. I'm feeling pretty good. I think I want to start being a little bit more diligent about what we practice in the off sessions. We had some fun this week with some of the stuff we studied, but there was like, I think there was like some stuff that could have gotten a little bit more focused. I don't know how many of you here were here for that one day. We studied Aeon Flux stuff. That was a huge blast. Going through Peter Chung's back catalog of animation and other things.
I feel like we need to do like another like proportion or even a hand study sit down or like a practice session.
Yeah, that might not be a bad idea. We'll figure it out. I mean, I'm basically going to structure these classes logically based on what I think I need and what I think would be the next logical step of what we would do next. Today's kind of like just like a maintenance day, and also like a vibing with Yo-Yo Shinari day. I'd been wanting to actually bring Yo-Yo Shinari stuff into the class this week sometime. So this was on the agenda for this week, but the important thing is to get the figure practice in. Yeah, Aeon Flux is pretty fetishistic, intentionally so. Peter Chung was trying to push boundaries of what you could do in animation at the time, and he was looking at a lot of like German expressionist erotica art and French comics and other things. Like Mobius was a big, huge influence on him. Ooh, yeah, that reminds me. I want to actually screen some Hodorowski stuff and the documentary and stuff on Mobius, and there's documentaries on Mobius, and there's a documentary on Hodorowski's Dune, which is a huge collab between him and Mobius. Maybe doing a deep dive into Mobius this next week might be really good. Mobius has his fingerprints all over like almost all your favorite classic sci-fi films, by the way. He did storyboards and character designs in Tron. He did storyboards for and designs for Alien. He did he did just like tons of stuff. I think he even worked on some historical films. But the dude was a machine, so he could turn over work really fast. I think he worked on Blade Runner, if I recall. Yeah. I'll have to look. And I think there's like a lot of uncredited stuff that he did too that people aren't completely sure about. I made these arms a little long. Okay, Google, stop. Okay, that was warm-up set 1. We will be taking a 5-minute break. Okay, Google, set timer 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Starting now.
So today isn't going to go too far into lessons and stuff. Like today is like kind of like a triage day, a little bit. It's like keep our practice going and stuff. So some of what I was doing this week. And this is all what I was doing today before class. Although I also did like the refined versions of these that I was doing the draw over on. I was doing those before class. Let's see here. So this is what I did for my warm-ups and my story development things today. So there's a bunch of thumbnails for that goblin fighting a bunch of guards story that I've been working on. So these are all like quick thumbnail ideas and stuff and quick shorthand notes of stuff that I'm going to turn into storyboards. Like some of these I'd really have to explain, but here's me experimenting with facial expressions.
Ooh, I really like those.
Let's see here. Some other ones, a little bit more refined model. I've got to like keep figuring them out and stuff. Here's some of here's some of the guards. I'm going to keep them very simple. And I'm actually going to be stealing. I'm going to use that figure drawing shorthand thing that I use on their heads, just to make them simple and stupid puppets. This is an idea for a disguise that the goblin wears before he attacks the guards. There he is climbing on the ceiling in the background there. And these are his 2 daggers, Face Stabber and Gut Ripper, right here. They're both sentient weapons, basically. Here's him bullying a kobold. Still kind of figuring out what his character design is, but I have a general idea of like his general proportions and attributes, so I have enough to do storyboard stuff with him. So I'm going to start slowly moving in on doing that this next week. This one's a funny idea for like a soldier gets stabbed in the face by Face Stabber, and then like the eye that's on the side of the blade like meets his eye. And then he has this little kind of hallucinated dream sequence of the guard hopping in the field with the Face Stabber blade over a bunch of flowers and stuff, and then it'll cut away to him like collapsing dead, basically. The goblin character is also a were-hyena, and so I opted to make him like a really goofy-ass, like kind of Tex Avery sort of Hulk character, basically, when he's in hyena mode. So like just really, really fucking goofy. I could also do him scary sometimes, but for this, like, goofy. I kind of like the idea of, like, sometimes he looks like more like a realistic hyena, other times he just looks like fucking goofy. Stuff like this, of, like, his body, like, not being animated at all, and his head just, like, flipping the fuck out. I have an idea for, like, the different guards would be differentiated in their rank, only by their rank, with the size of their mustache. Just getting bigger and bigger until, like, this would be like a final boss who actually uses his mustache to fight. some other fucking weird things. I had the idea of like, in order to change back from being hyena mode, he has to hit himself over the head with a hammer, or someone else has to hit him over the head with a hammer. And I have an idea that I made a shorthand. Okay, Google, stop. And I had an idea that I made a shorthand note about that, like, in addition to like some hyena noises, there would be a lot of like stock sound effects of random animal noises that are very obviously not a hyena noises a hyena would make, like fucking stock sound effect monkey noises or sheep or like cats and dogs and maybe even like a duck or something in there. Just be like a weird running gag thing. And let's see, do I have anything else worth showing here? Well, there's Popeye. Some other warm-ups and things. Yeah. Nothing that's really that big of a deal. I do like where this is going. I really like how the attitude of this sketch right here. And I also do like where the sentient blades are going right now. Like, I have some really fun ideas for them. Gut Ripper just really wants to eat guts. Anyway, we'll be starting another figure drawing set shortly. Just let me get ready here. Okay, Google, set timer for 20 minutes, 30 seconds.
20 minutes and 30 seconds. Starting now.
And we'll start with this. Oops. So, boy, that WandaVision. Let me spoil everything that happened in the story. The story today. No. It's pretty good. I mean, it's going about how I thought it was going to go. Given that I already know what the characters are that the show is kind of introduced already from where they are in the Marvel Universe. So I kind of saw what's happening right now coming, as did most other people, honestly, who know who the characters are that were identified by name in the show. But it's still fun. It's the I mean, like, this is like characters that we've seen before in other media. It's fun to see them be portrayed a particular way. But I do like how things are turning out. It's a fun show. Yeah, also somebody who knows somebody in one of the Discords I'm also in actually knows one of the people who worked on the stop motion of that was in this week's WandaVision. There was like a TV ad in this week's WandaVision that was like it was either this week or last week, but there was like a TV ad with some stop motion animation in it. Yeah, I think it was last week. But somebody from one of the Discords I'm in knows one of the main people who worked on that stop motion segment. Check it out, yo! I changed the angle of the pose. Yeah, well, I also changed the pose slightly, but I played off some of the things that are in there. It's a neat pose, though.
Are we gonna tackle like foreshortening techniques?
At some point, yeah. But I mean, here's a quick way to handle foreshortening. Well, first off, you just get like the gesture in the general area where it is, And then you do like something like this to show. You just wrap lines over it, going through space. Like, if it's coming towards you more, it's gonna be a little more like this. If it's going to the side more, it's gonna go like that. You also don't need to be that detailed with it. You could just do like, let's say, you just need the ends on it, basically.
I recently attended this webinar with Clip Studio, and their focus was on like perspectives and all that jazz. There was a lot of nice notes that the artist shared. I can put that. I took screenshots of it. I can.
Oh,
put
sure.
it in
Yeah,
the
feel free to
camera
share.
maybe. Great.
I'm doing a quick detour to do like some drawing mechanics studies real quick. This is kind of stuff that Steve Houston has people doing in his class stuff. I should get back into Steve Houston. Maybe we should break out. Maybe this should be the week that we break out some Steve Houston stuff to study in the off time. I think that would be a good thing to do, in addition to doing the next bit of the Alex Blue stuff we've been looking at. Shall we do that, folks? We'll make Steve Houston the agenda this week for the off study time.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, that may be some like perspective stuff. Like, I've been keen to look into Marshall Vandruff perspective stuff. Maybe we could start one-upping Stevie, you know. Stevie's a really cool dude, really cool, generous, helpful dude on Ethan Becker's Discord, who is super helpful, especially when it comes to advising people on the use of perspective in their work. So we've been using perspective too. We've been mainly using freehand perspective, which is good for figure quick sketch, good for design sketching and stuff, and good for storyboarding and animators and stuff. We beef that up a bit. Okay. Good. Just wanted to check. What brush am I on? Well, I'm on a pencil. Interesting. Maybe I should. I'm going to try this pencil for a little while. This gives me a different feel than the real G brush pen I was on. Might be a good idea to switch up materials a little bit more this week too. This next week. What pencil is this? This is a mechanical pencil. Yeah, no wonder. Yeah. Okay. Well, how about that? I'll stick with mechanical pencil for the rest of the session. Something with no line thickness, because this is a little bit more like how a lot of Japanese animators draw, and a lot of other draftsmen I know of, when they're working out their basic figure stuff.
Sup, Spacedad. I'm here. I'm
Hey.
back to you.
I'm going to play Valheim with one of the Valve writers on the Half-Life series. Chet, that one guy that I was playing The Forest with a week or two ago. I'll be doing that in about 2 hours, I think, or an hour and a half. It should be a hoot. I won't be streaming on my end when I'm playing, but you'll be able to watch him streaming. I'll give this. Oh, maybe I can raid him actually if he's doing a lot. If he's streaming live. Let's try that actually. Instead of me dipping out a little early, I'll keep the stream going for the last half hour. As I'm like, because it's gonna take me a little bit to like get in the game with them and stuff. But I can leave. I can like leave the. I can like participate in the last half hour and stuff while I'm like joining the game and stuff. Like I could stand around or sleep in a Viking bed while we do our last half hour of drawing. How do you join Steve? Steve does not have classes. Steve just hangs out on Ethan Becker's official Discord server an awful lot, and you can just ask him questions. And he's usually really helpful. He mostly just tells people, he mostly just points people in the direction of the stuff that I actually kind of want to break out into studying this week, though, which is Marshall Vandroff's perspective class. I can ask him a little bit more, too, about stuff he suggests digging more into. But Steve Houston and Marshall Vandroff are two of the several people that he studies from, too. But we can dig into both this week. So when you get like these Yo-Yo Shinari pages in here, use it as an opportunity to play with his figure puppets a bit, I would say. You can also like copy study the pose that the characters are in. But like me, for example...
Oh, sorry. Are these references all
No, there's a mix of photos of like it's a drawing mix of like photos and Yo-Yo Shinari drawings.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
Yeah. So like when you get a page like this, like just try playing with the figure puppets, putting it in a different pose. Some panty and stocking sketches. There's a bunch of stuff in these sketchbooks that's like the stuff that would eventually become BNA, like early versions of this schoolgirl kind of morphing with different body limbs into like a bear and doing martial arts fights. It's cool to see early versions of stuff that would evolve quite a bit differently later in artists' work. I think most of the sketches in here are when he was still at Gynax, like on Gurren Lagann and other things. He's actually a really big fan of like Cartoon Network shows too. That's actually what Panty and Stocking was, by the way. It was like, we want to make a show that is kind of like got some similar design rhythms as like a Cartoon Network show, but we're gonna do it in our own high-end anime-infused way. Oh, those are pretty good actually. You can see like when he's designing these creatures and stuff, he kind of like unifies. He really unifies the shape of the figure and stuff. But remember, like when you're looking at these are just a distorted version of a human figure. He really loves making those like wide emphasized hips, which show up in mecha design, both in mecha design and creature design and character design. I think emphasizing those anatomical landmarks actually makes them, in some ways, actually surprisingly easier to animate because you can track the anatomy of the bony features a little bit more visually easy. What do you think, Maxi?
Oh, dude, I do not. I can't do these stuff. Like monster stuff is like, that's like out of my field. But all like the but like for all the anatomy for these like creatures, like they still follow like the basics of like animal anatomy. But that's something that I don't specialize in. But
and human anatomy. Like there's bits and pieces that are kind of animal-ish, but honestly, like these figures on here, other than like the head, I would say are very human. Like they are just like warped versions of human anatomy. Even like the bird feet are kind of warped versions of like how humans' feet work versus an animal. Oh, well, this page that we already have up here. Well, that's an opportunity to, you know, I would say do a little box perspective study or something.
A double feature, nice.
Just because it kind of is relevant right now. Is there any point in the future where we might try to figure out how to do hard surface studies?
What do you mean?
Like things that have like more hard surfaces, like
say,
like
you mean like
a robot or a gun?
Box form? Yes, absolutely. We're focused mainly. We're focused mainly on gesture stuff, but like with Steve Houston goes into like more kind of box. He fuses it with gesture. That's one of the big reasons why I want to start moving into him.
Oh, I like personally. I like I'm a big fan of like all these hard surface like for animes it has hard surfaces like Gundams and like that. You know.
Yeah, mecha.
Basically almost every mecha, right? You know. But then I love Gainax's interpretation of mecha, you know, because they're all these mechas for
they're more organic shapes and stuff.
Yeah, for Trigger and they're like they all like morph around and bounce around like so, you know, like you know, very cartoonish, and I love it.
And a lot of them like very strictly don't obey rules that would lend themselves to actually transforming into the toys that they are. I think actually some existing mecha shows that were intended as toy shows actually do that too a bit. Like Gao Gaigar. Like the base forms of a lot of the transforming robots is like very different, and they make it apparent in the show that when they morph into their robot forms and stuff, that they make it apparent that they basically shapeshift. Did I mention he actually knows how to do figure drawing? There's some really, really great field sketching stuff in some of his sketchbook work. I'd actually want to see like what his like more recent sketchbook stuff looks like. There's some that I did see. Some of it was like some Astro Boy stuff, and that was more recent than these, but still pretty far back, relatively speaking, to now. Yeah, maybe this week's focus should be a combination of Studio Trigger and Steve Houston and a little bit of Marshall. That might be a fun combo.
Marital arts.
So the point of studying like someone like Yo-Yo Shinari is like let's pretend like pretend in your head that you've been hired to Studio Trigger. Okay, well now you got to kind of vibe with the house style. Well, that means kind of studying his character models and how he approaches things so you can fit into the production. It's still going to be your animation and your posing and stuff, but at the very least you can hook into the visual language that they use a little bit better. that and like Yo is just like a really impeccable artist in general. So like studying from him is a good way to kind of get like, some good heading in your practice in general. I think he would be the first to say, no, you should be studying from people better than me. Which is why we're not going to make him the absolute focus this week either. We're going to study from a lot of other people too. But for today is Yo Day. You okay?
Sorry. I was trying to mute my mic, but then my hand couldn't reach the button.
Little sneeze explosion there. I think that's Hulk there. I think he was trying to draw Hulk there on the upper drawing here. Really does kind of look like that. I have seen him draw like I have seen like him and some of the Studio Trigger artists draw Marvel superhero characters before too, so. I kind of feel sorry for them right now because like Cyberpunk turned out to be a real awful shit show, so the brand of Cyberpunk is kind of in the toilet at the moment. And the Studio Trigger is working on a Cyberpunk anime. Like, it's not going to be taking place in the same in the same like setting storyline as the game, but it is going to be taking place in Night City. It's probably going to be really good. It's probably going to be better than the game was. Okay, Google, stop. Pause it on this. Okay, Google, set timer 5 minutes.
5 minutes, and we're starting now.
Yeah, since you're here now, Maxie, let me show you what I did today. Let's see here, where is it? Well, first off, there's this. Some drawovers of that stuff I did earlier today. Or earlier this week when we were looking at like Samurai Champloo stuff. And then there's this, which I dated wrong. Let me fix that. But anyway, this is more development stuff for that story idea with the Goblin character. So let's see here. So there's a lot of stuff in here that I might be able to explain a little bit more. But a lot of it is like testing ideas and poses for the character. Like for example here, like here's the Goblin kind of surrounded by a bunch of guards, and the guard mass is just like this giant amorphous blob mass with circle heads drawn on them, and their spears are like these giant like lines in perspective with arrows on the end of them to keep it really simple and silly. And when they surround him, they like there's not even any animation like of hands on the spears. The spears just turn around and point at him and stuff, and jab down at him. So there's stuff here, like here's one of the guards. Some thumbnail stuff of kicking a guard and flipping off of him and kicking him backwards into someone else. Here's him blasting two guards through their faces with some knives and standing on their spears right here. So there's the idea I had for this is there'd be like a GoPro camera effect on his hand here, or something, or maybe he's just like there standing still, where he spins around, and then like there's a bunch of like it's just the background back here, and then there's like a bunch of blood effects that spurt out as he spins, or something. Here's ideas for the intelligent weapons he's got. Face Stabber and Gut Ripper. Starting to look a little bit more like the scissor sword from Kill la Kill. Let's see here. What the other guard? This is here's an idea here where there'd be like this. Not even any animation, just like a cycle of like a bunch of guards moving screen left, holding their weapons raised, and then like Gut Ripper is out in front of him, and the unanimated goblin is just standing there with Gut Ripper, just like shredding them from side to side, ripping them, like bisecting every single one of them, with like guts spraying out, guts and body parts spraying out on either side. Here's him spinning the daggers around. Just kind of riffing ideas for like things that could fit together into some fight scenes for these. Here's him like he gets blown back or something by something, and then catches himself by stabbing a guard through the head, who falls over backwards a bit, and then he kind of like jiggles out as if he's like made of as if he's like made of gelatin or something, like a windsock. And I'm also thinking of like there's specific like really over the top silly blood spurts from certain animes that I kind of want to emulate for some of this, so I'm making like little notes about that. It's me playing with expressions. I don't think I set the time. Did I set the timer for the break? Yeah, I did. Okay. So we should have another minute, I think. Yeah, more stuff with the guards and him. This is an old lady he disguises himself as, that I'm playing with ideas for. And more stuff with him and the swords. Oh yeah, this is a Gut Ripper chowing on an intestine. Okay, Google's. Let's see here. I want to show one more thing. Oh yeah, here's the were-hyena form of the goblin. Okay, Google, stop. But anyway, yeah. It's fun stuff. Anyway, we're going to get back to another set. Okay, Google, set timer for 20 minutes, 30 seconds.
20 minutes and 30 seconds. And we're starting now.
Here we go. Split the strings, my puppets. So this puppet that I'm using for figure posing, it's basically like a kind of a flexible body that's sort of loosely based on like a combination of a flour sack and bits and pieces of how a torso anatomy works. And then I just keep the limbs really, really simple. And as long as the head like shows clear like sign of like the direction that the head is facing. Then I just need like a simple indication of what direction it's facing. One thing that that this method is not as good for is the volumes of the character. You kind of have to address those, especially for the limbs. And it's not as good necessarily for foreshortening. It does simplify some things, but without any kind of indicator the foreshortening is occurring, you kind of have to like do this, for example. But I mean, it's not too hard to kind of get the volume in there, like that, for example.
Sorry for staying short. I gotta go. So, I'll see you later, Spacedad. See you guys.
All right, later. Give him a little mouth there, just because I think it's fun to play with. What do you mean? This guy seems like the story I'm putting together in my head is like this guy's like somebody from like a who would like be like a hero or like a gritty kind of fast talking high trousers gritty explorer slash detective man of action, like a pulp novel from like the 30s or 40s or something, and he's kind of out of place or something, like he's been transported out of place among some characters with some more modern characters or adventurers with more modern sensibilities, but he's like still really like kind of manic. So he's kind of ridiculous in contrast to them or something. If you don't mind, I'm going to take a little extra time with this dude, because I kind of like him. We've drawn him before. I mean, some of these a lot of these poses, this one included, is stuff that's already been we've already gone over in our library before, but something that's an opportunity to try a fresh take on something. Yeah, I've got to replenish the figure stock this weekend for sure. I'll be working on that. Actually, another idea that I have is like this is a guy who thinks he's a wolfman, but he hasn't transformed. I don't know. Sure. I mean, I could turn him into a wolfman. There we go. Oh, that's a bad image. Let's try a good one. There we go. I'm gonna keep going with trying to turn this guy into a wolf man. Fun fact, like for the original Wolfman, the Lon Chaney one, they originally wanted to give him like a muzzle, but they couldn't figure out how to handle the special effects for it, so they went with that kind of like flat face look that you see in the film. So he's a werewolf pug, basically. I think my brother's watching Monster Factory in the other room. If you guys know about that series. The web series about like absolutely breaking the character creation sliders in various video games that have character creators, basically, and making total abominations and then playing the game with them.
I will say this: if you can if I'm ever able to break the Baldur's Gate 3 character creator enough to create Ed from Ed and Eddie, I would love to do that.
Yeah, I think that they might intentionally do that, just so that like McElroy's have the meme content. But right now, I'm not so sure. I don't know how much control they have in there. I think there's like a bunch of presets or some shit. Out of shape, in shape guy from the 50s. That's the vibe I'm kind of feeling with this werewolf. We actually looked at like a bunch of EC horror stuff this week too. Tales from the Crypt folks really love drawing werewolves a lot. You know, fun fact, they actually made it illegal to draw werewolves and other stupid shit, and other like stupid ass rules in the Comics Code Authority. They effectively made it illegal. Really fucking stupid. Fuck the Comics Code Authority. Jesus Christ. What an abomination that was. Guy's either out of shape, in shape, werewolf from the 50s, or he's like mid-transformation. Like how goofy it looks, though. No, I just need like a giant EC terror like giant text box. Blah 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 blah. Like in all their fucking comics. It was just like the format at the time. Like they wrote the comic script beforehand, and then the artist had to fill in the art down below, and it was kind of made for a really cramped way to work. Even though a lot of the comics were pretty fantastic. I think if they had gone on, if EC hadn't like been killed in its prime, they would have been trying. They were trying stuff with like different formats and stuff towards the end there. So we would have seen them develop in some interesting directions for sure. But you know how like Quentin Tarantino made like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and a similar vibe was like in Inglourious Bastards, where he did like a revised history where the Inglourious Bastards kill Hitler and shit, using the power of cinema, basically. I will kind of want to see, or maybe even make, something in that vein regarding horror comics, or just like comics, maybe comics and animation in general, and imagining like an alternate past or something of EC comics and some other shit. Combine it with some other things. Make some like EC horror comic scenarios come to pass in real life, or combine it with some other horrible things that were happening around the time. make a scene where Jack Davis turns into a werewolf and bites off the head of like some, oh, I don't know, some PTA Ku Klux Klan dipshit who's trying to burn the EC offices down or something. Oh, here we go. Anyway, back to this. Not enough time for me to draw that pose. Drawing that werewolf is really fun, though. I do like that idea. I want to explore that more for sure. A Once Upon a Time in Hollywood version of built around like classic comics and EC and stuff. Imagining like both an alternate history and a kind of a revenge wish fulfillment fantasy scenario for on behalf of comics fans. I'd like imagine like a scenario which like the EC artist meet Osamu Tezuka or something, and their work gets influenced by him, and other things like that. So, fun fact that I found out this week that I actually didn't know about. There's this really kind of infamous comic called Knights of Horror that was like this kind of BDSM / horror comic series. It was made for adults only, and was sold in like a seedier parts of New York and stuff. The artists who worked in it were anonymous, but it turns out the artist who made it was Schuster of Schuster and Siegel, who created Superman. He had fallen on hard times, and it wasn't discovered until like after he was gone that he was responsible for those. And anyways, so those comics kicked off the anti-comics craze because there was a spree killer who Frederick Wortham discovered was a fan of those comics. Like this kind of spree thrill killer, like 20-something mass murderer back in the 50s. So isn't that wild? Like one of the creators of Superman, because he fell on hard times and he had to work on those because he got fucked really badly, that he inadvertently wound up putting some of the building blocks in place that would lead to the downfall of comics as a creative force in the 1950s. Fucking sucks. You know, though, I think that like all that stuff backfired too. That's the funny part. Like the kids didn't have an outlet anymore with the comics for like a lot of their pent up frustrations and stuff, and they got really pissed and they grew up really pissed and resentful at the adults who took away their comic books, and that I think that might have been in part what made a lot of kids grow up to be questioning authority in the 60s. One of the many things, and at least in the US, that contributed to that for sure, I think. I mean, it's a big thing that sticks in the craw of like every kid who grew up from that time, like Stephen King to like George Romero, Steven Spielberg, tons of filmmakers who grew up on like those EC horror comics and stuff. Got them yoinked away from them one day by busybody full of shit parents. and then they went on to make basically what they grew up on. Or try to reproduce the feeling that they had reading those things when they're growing up. In a lot of their work. Okay, Google, how much time left on timer?
There's 1 minute and 44 seconds remaining.
Cool. But yeah, if anyone wants to know about the history of EC Comics, there's a YouTube channel called In Praise of Shadows that has a two-parter on the golden era of horror comics. Unfortunately, he doesn't go too much into like the horror, the structure of horror comics in particular. I think there's better documentaries on talking about the storytelling of those comics, which I think is important. But he does go over a lot of like the circumstances that brought about their downfall and stuff. I think that the classic EC comics are worth today still studying from. The reason why is because they use a lot of like the classic pulp formats and stuff. But here's the thing: they were always trying to improve their writing. They were trying to like make a bit much better. You can see them successively trying to make a much better quality product, from the raising the quality of their art to trying to raise the quality of their writing too, even when it got really lurid and stuff. But yeah, like some of their writing got really sophisticated towards the end, like downright like Hitchcock level sophistication. They were trying to experiment with, and the reason for that is, well, first off, they were reading a lot to try to learn from authors and stuff. And also, they got help from Ray Bradbury. Okay, Google, stop. Who they befriended, who they actually adapted stories with, and they in the course of breaking down their stories, breaking down and adapting Ray Bradbury's stories, they learned a lot about story structure. A lot of the EC horror, the EC writers and artists. Actually, that's a really good idea. If you can take a public domain work, or honestly, you can take a fan adaptation of something, as long as you're not like making money off of it, I guess. Or if you write and ask permission from the author or something. Trying to do an adaptation of a good existing work is a great way to learn about story structure for comics, for sure. Like you could adapt Frankenstein or something. Take something from public domain. Adapt an Edgar Allan Poe story. Fun fact, there's a lot of characters, like Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, for example, that are still public domain. You know, even though Disney has brought back Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, which was like Walt Disney and Iwerks' character before it got stolen from them. That character would have been what Mickey Mouse became if it hadn't been stolen from them. But Oswald the Lucky Rabbit is still public domain. That means you are legally within your rights to make a Oswald the Lucky Rabbit film if you wanted to. And several other characters kind of like that. There's also a lot of superhero characters that are public domain that you can do that with too, by the way. Just saying. Like there's an entire pantheon of superheroes that you can do whatever you want with. Because they're public domain. Okay, Google, set timer for 3 minutes.
3 minutes, starting now.
Cool. So how you guys all doing this evening?
Trying to get my groove back.
I'm gonna have to head out to make myself some food, but this was a great session. I'm glad I was able to catch it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hiya.
Hey. I'm actually kind of liking how the Micron pen feels. I think I'm going to use that a lot more. Like, you can see how I built this guy up. This looks like a ballpoint pen sketch from a sketchbook or something. It's helping me kind of think about how I draw a little bit differently from the real G pen. The real G pen is great for feeling like a mixture of a brush pen, a Sharpie, and a brush pen and a Sharpie and a grease pencil. But this kind of like minimal thickness, and there's like a little bit of thickness, but so I can get kind of sharper edges when I want to, but it's a little bit kind of consistent line weight, so kind of lends itself to constructing the shapes a little more and kind of building up like stuff like this. Like I can go back in and I can darken up these areas here to build them out. Add that in and stuff, and I feel a little bit more comfortable about doing that with this pen. I definitely think I should maybe experiment with some other tools this week. The grumpy face of the pointy ears looks great. You mean on the werewolf? The Wolfman? So there's this guy. Maybe he is kind of like mid-transformation or something. Like his transformation face might look something more like... Let's go with something horrific. I don't know. I do like the idea that like horrible monster werewolves are not really wolves. They're just like kind of a wolf-like demon. Or a wolf-like devil or something, evil spirit that possesses you. Warps someone's physical form and then goes out and kills. Okay, Google, stop. So then, like, making them more like grotesque abomination would be more something you want to do with that style of werewolf. Okay, Google, set timer for 20 minutes, 30 seconds.
20 minutes and 30 seconds. Starting now.
So most of like the EC horror monsters and also werewolves in general, they tend to be like, or the, well yeah, the EC horror werewolves tend to be kind of the unsympathetic variety, cursed sort of thing. Can't think of any of them that aren't like the kind of the Lon Chaney style. There might be some. I think there was one story where there was like a werewolf versus a vampire or something.
Did they happen to sparkle in the sunlight?
No. Vampires, I think, are the different fun ways that EC Comics has handled vampires, though, is really Always interesting. The Reluctant Vampire is a really classic one. A vampire that is in charge of a blood bank. Is a security guard of a blood bank. And so he uses that to, like, he dips into the supply, basically, to stay alive and to keep off his hunger, so he doesn't hurt anyone. And then his shithead boss treats him like shit. And guess what he does to his shithead boss? Some of the HBO Tales from the Crypt episodes actually get even more grotesque than the original stories did. Some of them don't get as grotesque, weirdly. And also for the kids here, who never watched Tales from the Crypt, same voice actor as the Crypt Keeper from Tales from the Crypt HBO series. Voiced Ice King on Adventure Time.
Tom Kenny?
I think so. Let me see that. Crypt Keeper voice. No. John Cassier. He voiced something on Adventure Time that was the same thing. No, let me check. I might be wrong.
Yeah, I was gonna say Tom Kenny voices Ice King, and he's also SpongeBob. So like,
Yeah, I think I might be wrong about that actually. No, he did. No. There was like a couple episodes where he did some of it. No, he doesn't voice Ice King. He voices. There's some other characters he voices there. I'm dumb. Adventure Time. Crypt. Voice. But John Cassier is the guy who voiced him. Let me see here. Oh, no, yeah, he voiced Ice King in the pilot. And he later voiced Fire Elemental, Snow Monster 1 and 2. Okay, they didn't really use him much in the series, but he voices Ice King in the pilot. That's where I got confused. I feel like a dumbass because I've actually been to Cartoon Network and got to see some storyboards as they were working on them a few times for Adventure Time. Remember that one episode with like the really vain prince? Prince Kai, who was riding the horse and stuff. He turned out to be an asshole. Like, I got to see that one. That one they were referencing Unico. The Unico movie for how he looks. Also, there's something that really kind of bugs the hell out of me that's been going on like a while on Twitter now and other places. Like animation character design discourse over like fucking Thundercats Roar and like also Steven Universe and similar kinds of shows. There's this really stupid bad faith discourse over that stuff. Like I'm fine with accepting that people don't like styles of certain shows or whatever, but there's some really dumb things being said about them, and I think most of it is like bandwagoning by like a lot of asshole YouTubers that are like SJW bashing types or whatever that that are kind of like drastically oversimplifying certain trends and certain design and production trends in art to like find a scapegoat, basically. And it's led to some really, really stupid, like I see like this people just saying the dumbest fucking things about certain shows. Like, I mean, I get it. Like, a lot of it is like it's going through cycles. Like, a lot of kids grew up on Steven Universe and Adventure Time looking type shows, and they're kind of sick of shows that look like that. They think it's baby stuff, so they want stuff that looks different. And to them, stuff that looks different than that would be look less lazy, even though like it's not really lazy. It's but it like isn't their but for whatever reason it isn't their thing. And some of that is that the stuff they have to kind of accept is not really aimed for their age group anymore. They've kind of gotten more grown up, and so their tastes are different than like a kid that might be seeing that stuff. Some of it's that. Some of it is, I will acknowledge, is legit criticism to be made about certain tastes and art style and stuff, or certain like repetitive trends and things. But a lot of it is like in really, really bad faith. These are some nice faces. Whatever it is, it looks like he was like watching a film or something and doing faces. If anybody recognizes any of the faces he's caricaturing here, that'd be cool. I'm going to take it as an opportunity to do some head angle studies.
I definitely recognize something here, and I just can't figure it out what I've seen. Oh, it's Game of Thrones!
Yeah.
That's why. Okay, that explains a lot now.
Early seasons of Game of Thrones, I guess.
Yeah, because like there's Arya down in the corner, there's Bran right there in the top right, and a couple of the other characters are kind of sitting there. Like there's Tyrion right down in the left corner.
Yeah, so it is.
And then the brother, other Lannister, Jaime.
When did Game of Thrones come out? Like the first season?
Early 2000s.
No.
Sorry, early 2010. Sorry, my brain.
Yeah.
Right there. Yeah, no. Like early 2010s. My brain farted for a second. I'm sorry.
Actually, I think it was later than that, wasn't it?
It was definitely around
2011.
No, it was. Yeah, I was gonna say like it was definitely the early 2010s.
I was happy that when it came out because like I'd read the novels years ago and like I'd always enjoyed them because it was like they were praised by fantasy nerd fans as like, oh, finally a novel series that doesn't really try to dress up just how fucking brutal like drama and shit in the Middle Ages were, and then there was no plot armor for the characters and stuff. Well, this is a nice page.
Does anyone else besides me find it funny how he is the only writer in history that got the trial test and ending before he actually finished the series?
Honestly, HBO should have just waited. But they couldn't. I mean, like, the actors are going to age.
Yeah, well, that was 3/4 of the problem right there. I mean, didn't it already deviate from the books heavily? Like, I've never gotten a chance to read them, but from what the people who have said that it deviated heavily.
Yeah, it did.
During the last, like, 3 seasons.
I think they should. I think they should eventually, like, do a faithful adaptation of the whole series. HBO's probably planning to at some point. I wanted it years ago to be an animated series before it got adapted into live action.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would too, honestly, just because they have a lot more finite control over how, like, the elements work in there just for the story structure.
Yeah. What you said. I want them to do that, and I'd want them to take a I want them to take cues from the anime adaptation of Legend of the Galactic Heroes. One of the cool things about that series was that they would like have like little breakaway vignettes of like these one or two characters that you'd only see ever once in this entire series. It's just like you just get like a little snapshot of their lives and what's happening with them, and how it relates to the world events that are on. Like you hear a little bit from a couple of pilots or a couple of mechanics for a bit or something, and it goes off on like a little vignette with them. These are fun. What's this, like vampire animal human creatures? They definitely look villainish. I could see these guys being like bad guys of the Little Witch Academia or something, but like really, really fucking serious bad guys. So fun fact, to be able to handle most animals, you see that little kind of like thing I'm doing right here where I do this sort of thing for like the cheeks and the brow and stuff on like the front of somebody's face, and then I can break that down into like placing a nose, chin, and so on. For animals, you just basically warp that like this. Turn it into a big kite down the front of the face. And like normally the tooth cylinder rests inside here, inside the face. On a muzzled animal, it's all the way out here. And then if it's a predatory mammal, usually the eyes are kind of set closer together. If it's a prey animal, the eyes are usually out to the sides. Something.
You know, for the longest time when you kept using the word tooth cylinder, I thought you were talking about individual teeth and not like
No, the
entire mouth
overall cylinder that rests inside the head that used to simplify the teeth. Like if you've ever seen like those kind of dental, like if you've been to a dentist's office, you've seen those kind of like little sets of like plastic choppers that they have there, like models of human teeth. Basically, that's what I'm talking about. That right there is an extremely Osamu Tezuka character right there. Oh yeah, also this is what I wanted to show you guys. I'm getting inspired by looking at this guy's animation. Like this is something I'm going to rip off. Well, I've seen other animation like this, so I'm not necessarily going to rip off him specifically, but this guy Pebble, there's Pebble Jang right here. Really, really fucking awesome art and animation. He's really good at animating weapons in particular, like guns. But this right here is like kind of in the vein of tonally what I kind of want to go for with the animation for my goblin guy. So I'm going to kind of riff and come up with my own ideas for what I can do. But like a lot of the stuff, a lot of these ideas that are in here also are taken from Studio Trigger films and stuff. And he's just like playing and vibing with tons of really weird, ridiculous, over-the-top things. Some of these ideas here I'm going to just steal wholesale for my own shit. Because I'm just like vibing with this stuff to learn and to have fun. And try stuff out. Yeah, he's remarkably good at like weapons and weapon animations in particular. See, he did some really awesome recent stuff. That's cool. Yeah, he looked like he worked on this, on stuff from this. What is this? I have no idea what this is, but it looks neat. Ah, WebGen. Can't wait to start vibing with that stuff. And I'm right now I'm working on like the mechanics of what like the drawing stuff that I'm going to be using when I am animating. Oh, that's a bad page. Skip that. Here's a better page. Like I said, when you get these figures here, you can copy them, or you can try reposing the character. Like that dude on the left there, he's got his arm on his hip. I'm gonna try reposing him slightly. Thrust his hips forward. Yeah, animated Game of Thrones would definitely suit things like I could see HBO. Well, HBO's like in charge of like Warner Brothers properties now, so like making it a Warner Brothers animated adaptation would actually be really cool, really fucking rad. A faithful adaptation of the Game of Thrones books.
It would be really funny to see it in the Disney cartoon style, like I saw some of that fan art doing for the Arya and the Hound. That would just be entertaining just to watch.
It's hard for me to say like what kind of art style I think would work best for it. There's a lot of them that could. Something more in an anime direction, I would say. But
What, like a
more
sunrise style?
like figurative anime that's like more kind of humanized. Something
Like Cowboy Bebop Sunrise?
No. I'd have to kind of poke around a bit on that.
Castlevania?
Maybe, I don't know. Not quite. It's like it's something that I think would need to be developed. Although if I saw some examples, I could probably pin something down. Okay, Google, stop. Okay, Google, set timer for 5 minutes.
5 minutes, and we're starting now.
So this will be the last set before my play date with the game devs, but I may actually join the game while I'm still on stream so that I can hang out and I can hold my spot there. I may leave this Discord call so I can be in their Discord call, but I will be on my stream. Oh, we'll see. Well, I'll see. That's kind of seems like it would be a mess, honestly. I think I might just shut down the stream altogether at 8 p.m. so I can join them on the gameplay date. So this might be our very last set for this evening. We'll be doing another study session tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. 2:30 p.m. Pacific time. So I don't have really any homework other than to say I want people to keep practicing, keep doing study photos and stuff from reference. At a certain point, I'm going to be developing like my own story stuff, and when we get more into that and some animation stuff, we'll start assigning homeworks and things. But if you want to get some storyboard critique or something, I'd be down with that tomorrow, I'm sure. So feel free to submit that. Any kind of storyboard or animation work you might want to get some feedback on tomorrow. I can give it like before or after the class. But yeah, my main goal lately has just been trying to get fluent with. Well, that's a bad page. Well, we're on break right now, so just pause it on that dude then. I've actually been studying Yo-Yo Shinari stuff like on and off for like the last year. Every time I dip into it, I get like pick up one or two different things from it. Like you don't want to study like someone like him in a vacuum, obviously. But he gives like some really good cues to work from for like utilizing anatomy and gesture drawing and structure to make some really, really energetic animation that has a lot of visual integrity to it. So I kind of want to like learn from him by practicing his skateboard tricks so I can invent my own skateboard tricks, if that makes any sense. But I can't just like try to practice his skateboard tricks. I've also got to practice like all my basic balance and everything else that adds up to making me a well-rounded skater or artist. But yeah, it's cool, like putting in the mileage like this, then you look at somebody who's really, really well developed like him, and then you start being able to put the pieces of the work you've been doing together. That's why I think it's great to do a combination of observation figure study, draw over study of figures and existing artists, and copy studies of existing artists, and sometimes just putting on existing artists to have as like reference and inspiration, so you kind of like it kind of gives you something to kind of riff off of, to play with the different moving parts of, or to inject it in your work. Ethan Becker actually talks a bit about that in some of his videos. Like, it's good to surround yourself with work by really good artists, and then you start picking up on some of their good habits. That's the idea of doing this right here. Like the Yo-Yo Shinari practice we're doing. I really liked how that Wolfman turned out. I might do a cleaner line version of it or something later. Fix up some of the stuff I fucked up in his legs. Okay, Google, set timer for 20 minutes, 30 seconds. This will be our last set for this evening.
20 minutes and 30 seconds. Starting now.
Yeah, this pen actually lends itself to drawing smaller on these large-ass pages, too. That's another thing I noticed. What Studio Trigger animator worked on a few Steven Universe episodes? It wasn't Yo-Yo Shinari themselves, right? Don't know. I think there's multiple Studio Trigger veterans that have worked on it, but I'd have to look that one up. So one of the dumb comments that I saw someone make about like art style stuff, XJW art style, and shit like that, on some of the shitty art discourse stuff. One of the really stupidest comments I saw was like, I hated that one episode of Adventure Time where everything like where they turned into animals and then they turned into birds and like everything got all acid trippy. It was like a stupid Steven Universe thing. And I was like, I was thinking, you fucking idiot. That was an episode directed by Masaki Yuasa, who the dude behind like Mind Game and Devilman Crybaby and Keep Your Hands Off Aizuken and tons of other stuff. Jesus fucking Christ. Some people are fucking stupid. And the other thing is like those people who hate on Adventure Time and stuff. Masaki Yuasa fucking loves Adventure Time. Like that he wanted to work on the show, because it's like Adventure Time is like right in his vibe basically. Like it's not as elaborate in its animation usually, but it's like right in, like it occupies a similar creative headspace to him in a lot of ways. So he really loves Adventure Time. Yeah, don't pay no attention to the poisonous cal art style discourse. It's stupid. All the discourse over that is poisonous and brain rottening. Just here's what I think. Here's my take. Focus on what you like and what you vibe with. If you don't like something, that's okay. Go find something else. Don't be a hater, basically. Like, even I'm, like, reluctant to kind of hate on waifus and stuff, you know? Even though I don't really care for them. Don't be a hater. Don't be a bad person, don't be a hater. See, if I was a hater on waifus, there's a lot of really fantastic stuff that I'd overlook otherwise. That I keep running across that is stuff that kind of technically counts as a waifu anime, but is actually really good, that transcends being just like a waifu anime. Like, I almost dismissed ReZero because I thought it was a waifu anime at first. That taught me a lesson.
Yeah, teaches you a lesson that going into a cave with crazy person and then watching someone die over and over and over in very gruesome ways is not the greatest thing you want to see on a regular basis, but still very good of a show.
Very taxing to its one's psychology, and I do appreciate that they don't take that fact lightly in the show.
Yeah, he has some pretty good breakdowns on that show. Like,
oh my god, yeah, that's part of the reason why the show works so well. It's like the psychological breakdowns that he goes through over and over again make sense why he's going through that. The show has its own internal character logic that works really well.
Although there is one particular cheat code for some reason they never went through, even though it probably would have broken the
Is this a
entire
spoiler?
series.
Don't spoil it for the people here.
No. It's the fact that because of the whole magic aspect, he could have just kept rewinding and just constantly kept learning that for like thousands of years and then just turned into like the ultimate mage.
I guess, but I think that it's kind of implied that like there's something kind of, well, I mean, like, it is like incredibly traumatizing over and over to keep seeing that stuff, seeing that horrible shit happen. over and
Oh,
over
no, it
again and having it
absolutely
weigh on
is.
you, and it would probably just like make him turn into a monster over time, you know, if it went on forever. I'm curious to see, maybe they might try that actually, like they'll actually abuse the power to study magic like that or some shit.
Yeah, because
He'll pull a Bill Murray learning the piano, but for like 1,000 years or something.
Yeah, because like when you think about it, it's just like eventually it might come to that.
Yeah, I mean it's possible. We'll see. Got some comments in the Twitch chat. Let's see. I have a problem with. Let's see here. I have a problem with making a head proportions when I'm making figure drawings. I just can't make the head fit the body, or vice versa. Do you have any tips? Yeah. Study proportion systems of like 8.5 head and or 9 head and stuff. One of the other things is that when you're doing quick sketch, like, you know, well, this for example, you kind of just have to eyeball it, and you sort of develop a sense of proportion over time just from scrutinizing your work and kind of developing a better sense of it. The proportions are inherently going to be off when you quick sketch something, but you can always fix it later by actually measuring it out. Some other tips for measuring proportions: you can use your thumb and your forefinger, or use your pencil held up to your eye with one eye closed to check proportions. You can even do that during quick sketches. But a good way to really kind of drill proportions is to do figure lay-in studies. Like usually 20-minute figure lay-in studies, where you 20 minutes to an hour figure lay-in studies where you let me show you what a figure lay-in is. Figure lay-ins are stuff like this, that are like, these are like done in about 25 minutes to an hour or so, sometimes 2 hours. But they're basically like using basic shapes and stuff. These ones are actually a little bit more elaborately drawn than they can often be, but it's basically like you pay really, really close attention to the proportions and basic shapes of the model. This one's a little bit more worked up and has shadow patterns in, actually. Some of these are nudes too, so I better stop that. But the point is like, long pose drawing is a good way to practice figure proportion. That, and you can also like use you can make basically a proportional practice sheet for yourself of just doing a character in measured proportions from different height angles and stuff over and over again. And like just pay attention to the proportions of limbs and whatnot. Over time, you'll kind of develop a better sense overall of the figures. So you'll start your sense of proportions will improve even in your like kind of quick sketchy drawings. But inherently proportions are always going to be ever so slightly off in your sketches if you really, really scrutinize them. The goal is to try to get them closer in the ballpark.
Didn't you have like a cheat sheet like posted? Like,
Yeah, Kevin Chen's cheat sheet. Unfortunately, it does leave some information out, like on how arm length is and stuff. But it's a pretty good starting point. Andrew Loomis has some proportion guide. I think the Michael Hampton book has proportion guide stuff in it. But it does come down to a lot of practice. A lot of times, like you want to be conscious of the fact that you can sometimes tend to make the heads too big or too small. But keep in mind that when you're doing figure quick sketch like that, like proportion errors like that are kind of normal. Just try to get something in the ballpark, and if you mess up, you can maybe try fixing it. or you can try to get something that's a little bit closer in the ballpark. Or you can play with the proportion error intentionally. Like, I sometimes like to play with how the quick sketch figure tends to look like a stylized fashion model or something with a small head and long limbs. Ever take a look at the original Clone Wars series? You mean Gennady Tarkovsky? Yeah. Yes. I'm not a huge fan of like how stuff moves, but some of the posing is pretty strong. I don't really like Tarkovsky's fight scenes, but I do like some of his posing and his design sense. I kind of feel like I like him best when he's combined with animators that can really do much more interesting stuff. Like Primal's actually doing some of what I'm talking about, and I really enjoy it. There's some pretty well animated fights in that series. And I think I need to watch the rest of the new Samurai Jack season that was put out years ago. There is some good stuff in that too, if I recall. I need to rewatch it to really think about it more, though.
Well, they basically told Gendy, like, you have basically all the budget you want. You can get as bloody as you want. Have at it. And then he just, like, put his hands together and started rubbing. That's basically the best way I can describe that final season. Like, Gendy got unhinged and did whatever he wanted to.
There was good stuff in Symbiotic Titan, and I'm really sad that series got canceled way too early. Symbiotic Titan looked really good. No, Primal's fantastic. I think it's, I'm looking forward to the next season of that.
Are you talking about season 3 or season 2 that just came out?
Oh. Season 2 just came out?
Season 2, well, this, like, the end of season 1 and then season 2 had come out a while ago, actually.
Oh.
The next set of episodes.
Then season
after,
3 is what I'm talking about in that case.
Yeah.
Technically, on Apple, it still says that's all season 1, those 10 episodes.
Yeah, I think it, yeah, well, there's the 10 episodes and then there's
That's
the
probably
episodes
why there's
after that.
confusion about that.
Because I know it aired on Adult Swim, like the new season of it, because I had just watched it like about a couple months ago.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that can help you with proportion is if you play with a very simple puppet like this. An awful lot, where you can track proportion a lot easier. Like the head in relation to the body, and the length of the limbs and stuff. You're having to wrestle with less, or keep track of less, so you can kind of eyeball the proportions a little easier. And over time, you kind of like learn little bits about, like for example, when I was doing this Wolfman right here, I was thinking like, oh, this leg is going to be a little bit smaller. It's going back in here. There's little things I want to fix when I go back into this stuff, like the calf stuff here needs to be kind of, maybe beef up this foot. Might help a bit. I would look at the reference again for fixing this guy a bit more. There's like foreshortening things I'd want to maybe punch up a bit in his little thigh here. Okay, thicken up his thigh because it's coming towards us. Exaggerate how shredded the outfit is. Like, here's some examples of how I might play with this guy some more. I might beef him up a bit. Because he's not very intimidating like this. I did like the fast-talking high trousers thing I started with him, though. But probably lengthen his limbs a bit. So I'm gonna try to go for something that seems like a fun design. That could, like, be something I'd like to see heroes battling, but also is genuine, and is also a little bit funny, and there's a little bit of humor to him, but is also something that seems genuinely threatening, and would be pretty frightening in the right lighting or staging. And I think a lot of it would come from the eyes, like the crazed eyes focused on you, the viewer, right there. Like this guy. Looks like he probably would tear your throat out. And on proportions, maybe shrink his head. So it'll make his body seem more intimidating. Yeah, do that, and then I can do thickening his neck. That. Oh no, he's hot. Jeez. Yeah, he looks a little bit. He looks like a Harlequin romance novel cover now. but I could still like play with him some more. I think like in terms of making him more intimidating, I'd probably go with something that's a little bit more kind of in the body horror end of things, perhaps. So like, let's see here. So maybe something more gangly, like gangly and deformed, like it's got like a jaw that's drooping down here, but it's kind of like malformed half into a muzzle. It's got kind of gaunt, hungry eyes, because he's kind of like, he's not a real wolf, he's like a beastly, kind of the beastly side of man coming out through demonic possession. Let's keep him abstract. And his muscles should look kind of like powerful and imposing, but like not kind of like hunky, sexy bodybuilder, but like more bestial and like they're kind of just hanging off the frame. Emphasizing the creature's hunger for human flesh, maybe give him more of a paunch to his belly. Kind of like a hungry ghost sort of thing.
How about a hunch?
Yeah, a hunch would be also a possibility. I'm going to have him standing more up straight just for this sketch. Really lengthen the arms. Make his hands some kind of a little bit of like the American Werewolf in London paw hands with it. Okay, Google, stop. Also, the other thing about werewolves is why do they have to transform all at once? Like, maybe they can transform in little chunks throughout the course of the night or a few days of the full moon or something. Some folklore actually has them doing that. Yeah, so this is actually looking a little bit more frightening to me. Starting to look like kind of Bloodborne enemy territory a little bit.
Does it come with the smash your head against the wall difficulty?
Like, I could see this thing loping around a level in a game, in a Bloodborne-ish type game. Like, the player might come up to about, like, waist height or something like this. Like, let's throw together, like, a generic protagonist here. A hunter of some kind. Big long weapon that probably keeps going off the page there. Made to fight large enemies.
So you said most of this is coming out of an actual like art book off of Amazon from Yoshinari?
Yeah, well, someone said it's on Amazon. Yeah, I've seen it on Amazon.
What is the actual title of it? Just because I'm
I don't
curious.
know. There's 2 books actually that this is from. Reminds me of the Wendigos from Until Dawn. Yeah, there's probably that too. This guy's kind of generic gaunt horror creature. Like, if I really wanted to make them unique, I'd have to think about them more.
I cannot think about Until Dawn without just immediately remembering Markiplier's playthrough of it and him just like rage quitting like literally in the middle of it because he screwed up so bad and restarted everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look at that. Sometimes you gotta go in the wrong direction of what you are doing in order to get something close to what you intend. He looks hot. I'm sorry. He just looks... This one looks more like kind of like an EC horror werewolf, I'd say. This one, he looks kind of like a 2000s X-Men beast, I think.
Don't panic, Squidward. Just imagine him in his underwear. Oh no, he's hot!
Yeah. And this one looks more like a Bloodborne enemy, which is a little bit more on the horror end of things. So that's fun. That's our session for today. Let me check around a little bit. Oh, by the way, if you're wondering where this is from a stop motion film by, I think it's Jiri Trinka is the name of the filmmaker. So I'm going to recommend 2 stop motion filmmakers. 2 Czechoslovakian stop motion filmmakers. One's named Jiri Barta and the other one's named Jiri Trinka. Jiri Trinka made this character right here, which is from a short called The Hand. Which is about authoritarianism versus creative control. And I do strongly recommend seeing it. It's an extremely good film. This little character is trying to make like pottery for like a potted plant and stuff, and he keeps getting like forced by this this actual human hand that keeps coming in and forcing its way into his home and forcing him to make little sculptures of hands, which kind of is like a in reference to like Soviet bloc forcing artists to make art glorifying the state instead of just making their own art, which was a problem for a while. Became less of a problem towards like later beyond the 1960s, it became less of a problem because the Soviet Union started to loosen that up. But yeah, it's a fantastic film, and Jiri Trink has got an amazing body of work of stop motion animation. And then there's another guy named Jiri Barta, who is he's made some other amazing. This is from an amazing animated short film that I've really got a screen about, like about mannequins that are doing like these weird facsimiles of like real life routine of like going to work and like going to and from work, like abandoned Windows Store mannequins and stuff. This is a fucking amazing and nightmarish stop motion film with like woodcut puppets and woodcut backgrounds. This was a huge influence on Nightmare Before Christmas. This is a Jiri Barta's Pied Piper movie. It's a fucking amazing film. It's nightmarish. It's not really a kid's movie. It's a very disturbing film, but so beautiful. It's got amazing amazing visuals and amazing like visual invention of how they use like weird forced perspectives and German expressionist style woodcuts and stuff. But yeah, Jiri Barta's done a lot of really fantastic films. I definitely recommend checking out his body of work. And while we're at it, let's look at one more stop motion filmmaker, Schwankmajer. Jan Schwankmajer, who to really describe what somebody did a Rick and Morty fan art, or maybe this was official art that was loosely, that was like a tribute to one of Jan Schwankmajer's films. But Jan Schwankmajer has made a massive body work, like tons of shorts, tons of feature films. He's been a huge influence on tons of filmmakers over the years. Lots of video game makers has been influenced by and referenced him in their work, including the Silent Hill creators. They reference him in one of their art books. And in fact, there's several points in the Silent Hill games that are direct references to Schwankmajer films. But you'll see why if you see some of his films, especially some of his feature films. Some of his feature films kind of play out like a really surreal adventure game centered on a particular protagonist. But I hope that gives you a smattering. So I'll write those in the chat, like in the Twitch chat. So Jiri Barta, Jiri Trinka, and Jan Schwankmajer. And I encourage people to dip into them. And for bonus round, I think they're British or they're American, but the Brothers Quay, we'll throw them in there too. Brothers Quay are also fantastic. Brothers Quay were inspired by Schwankmajer, and Brothers Quay had a huge influence on a lot of other filmmakers as well, and I do recommend checking them out. Especially like MTV in the 1990s, these guys were a huge influence on. Really beautiful stop motion puppetry. They actually made a film that was a tribute to Jan Schwankmajer, who they were inspired by as well. Ooh, what's this? Oh yeah, I forgot about this. One more stop motion film I want to mention: The Wolf House. This is a. Let me see if I can find a trailer for it that'll show you what it's like. The Wolf House. I've been wanting to see this since I found out about it. But it's a feature length, or it's an hour-long film, but yeah. It's a film that's like filmed from a constantly moving camera with very large puppets and like backgrounds that are constantly being painted over and modified and stuff. And it's wild and like nightmarish and dreamlike.
Det står også Pedro igjen. Hvem er Paris?
It's like a living, like, fine art piece, basically. I like the way that it's filmed. It makes you feel like you're in the room with where this stuff is happening. Like you've wandered into a house where there's these weird art puppets playing out this all these events in front of you. Yeah, I really want to see this. So I'll add that. Who made this? The Wolf House. Chopin, Cochina, Christina. I'll have to check out more what they're about. That's pretty fantastic. That came out in 2018. Ooh, neat. Yeah, it's on Amazon Prime. I could actually stream it legally here for anyone who has Amazon Prime. So we could do a watch party with that in the future through Twitch. Legally. Yeah, I definitely want to watch that. So I'll add that to the list here, the Wolf House. So that was a fun little tangent to go off of. With he was watching Jiri Trinka films with it. There's a couple other sketches that are from the hand in that sketchbook there too. Anyway, so we're gonna cut it off here now. Thank you all for coming. This has been a great session.
Spacedad, just a quick question, just because I've been playing with this after your advice. I've been playing around with using the grids. I'm just kind of looking to get feedback to see if I'm adhering to the advice you were giving me.
Talk to me about it tomorrow. I'd love to,
Okay.
but I've got to step out of here for the play date.
Okay.
But yeah, post your stuff. We'll go over it tomorrow. All right, thank you all for coming. This has been a good session. I wish I had another half hour to spend, but by all means, keep practicing. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Pacific time. We'll do more practice like this. Bye-bye.